one of Kwan's classic and most important quotes in the entire movie, Star Trek II, Wrath of Kwan.
Which is?
He says, I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you. And I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you've left me, marooned for all eternity in these systems in the center of a dead planet, buried alive in your grind.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Talking Trek Laboratory, we have the wildly intelligent and fully prepared Jules Vern is here with us. Can you explain to players just a high-level overview? If they're like me and they're logging in for the first time today, what do they got to do?
The first thing you're going to do is you're actually going to fly into a system. Just go fly into Augment space.
All right.
Because this is how you're going to start your Augment faction loop. All right. So first thing that we'll see in here is that you'll have lots of hijacked Mayflower, a D3, and a Legionary. But you also see hijacked D7 class. So there is two different types of hostiles that we can see in this system already. But they got a D3 here, Mayflower, and Legionary. These are all your standard hostiles. Now, these will carry the base loot for that generation of ships. So right now you're in the 40 system, so you're still in the G3 range, which means you'll only see uncommon loot from those hostiles.
Why did I just get attacked? Oh, Chaser.
Why do you think you got attacked? Because of this other hostile I'm about to talk about, which is called the Chaser. The Chaser is an auto-attacking hostile, similar to the original Augment, similar to faction revenge hostiles that will come attack you if you have a negative reputation with any faction, and similar to the sentries in the Texas class. These will auto attack, but they have a very special ability, which is, I would say, the anti-canine, or it can't even be called the go home cannon anymore because it's not a cannon. It's like an instant death ray.
Dilithium destabilization. The ship has a 90% chance at the start of combat to destabilize the player's warp core, instantly destroying the ship.
Warp core breach. You're dead.
I'm dead.
Just look at the battle log.
It feels great to lose
Wait,
to
what's
26.
it? There's nothing in the battle log. It is the burn.
Exactly. That is how devastating it is. There's no cannon. You cannot defeat it. K9 cannot defeat it. 150 billion Borg cubes cannot defeat it.
So you're gonna have to use the that special Picard maneuver to get rid of your hostile.
For everyone who does not understand the Picard maneuver, essentially you will impulse across a system. Before you reach there, you hit recall, and before your ship can actually recall, you cancel that. And you do not move until your Chaser or your revenge hostile goes to that spot where your ship would have gone. It will get stuck there, and then you can freely move about the system until you attack that Chaser again, or you die and you leave.
That is what we refer to here as the Picard maneuver.
Great. So that is the two different types of hostiles so far. We've got our standard hostiles, and then we have our auto attack, Chaser, revenge, whatever you want to call them. The last type of hostile is the loot goblins. So this is very similar to your Ferengi in the Borg systems, similar to your Mirror Enterprise ship in the Mirror space. It is a loot goblin. It's got extra loot. Now, this one is formatted differently. The loot in there is formatted differently. So there is a way in which any player can only have to go to one system and collect all of the loot they're ever going to need. It's just not really going to be possible here at the beginning because everyone is chasing those. So that is the loot goblin. I don't think you'll be able to find one here, but it is a survey class. It has a small diamond if you zoom in, and you can actually see the full text. You will not see it next to the number alone, so you can't zoom out and see it. But at least you'll see the survey symbol next to there. All right, so let's go into the sheet because I need to show the loot table in order to explain what your next strategy is going to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, this spreadsheet will be available in the graphics room and will be available for you to get into.
Okay, so explaining the loot table here. Now, as you saw from the graph that you kind of showed earlier, or if you can scroll down just a little bit, you'll see that same graph and how there is peaks. So the common loot peaks at 40. The uncommon loot peaks at 50. Rare loot peaks at 60, and the epic loot peaks at 70. So this is already kind of breaking down that these loot are really generational, right? And if you want to actually maximize your grind and only do, say, 10 hostiles for each single chest, well, then you need to go to these maximum points in order to do that. But the loot goblins themselves have a neat trick. They scale linearly, right, for all of the factors. So the level 70 actually has an obscenely high number of common loot. So if you can scroll up, you see that it's got 40,000 in the level 70 survey. Now that's not a lot because you just got, 600,000 after hitting some of those hostiles. But if you think about hitting a few of these while you're already in your system grinding with your regular hostiles, like in your 64 or 66 systems, you may actually get lucky and see a few of these level 70 surveys. Let's get crewed up and let's get out there. There is a strategy to punching up, but that punching up mentality is not going to get you as much loot as if you punched down by a couple of levels and you fully loot crewed. Particularly if with a loot crew you can kill the survey, that means that you're going to gain an immense amount of all of those loot tables. So my strategy has been doing loot crew. However, Wham actually in our lab was showing some crews that he was using to punch up. So we can talk about one of the punch up crews, NT Picard as captain, 5 of 11 on one side, and Anorax on the other. Kind of a mixture of loot. Another crew that Wham was using to punch up was Janeway, the Doctor, and Anorax. So this is a generally good crew to punch up because these hostiles do have a large apex barrier that you do need to punch them pretty hard and you need to survive quite a while to get through. So using Anorax, which is generally more available than, say, Section 31 George O, will actually allow you to survive for longer.
Does Anorax require you to take damage or just take a hit? Because she's going to suppress all the damage eventually. Is he still going to proc and build that up over time, or?
Good question.
Anorax's ability says when hit by a hostile. All right. Now we can test that in the lab, but
no,
sounds like
also says after being hit by a hostile. Okay, we can do some testing later. So full loot crew, full loot crew. This is E Picard, Rachel Garrett, 5 of 11. So just take your loot grind, and then I would drop data for 5 of 11. Just maximize your loot.
There we go. Okay.
I would probably suggest to either go to a 64 or 66 systems, especially considering you don't have any Forbidden or Chaos tech that would help you punch up since you don't have a crew to help with. So let's go ahead and start in 64.
All right. So here we are. I do see a hostile inbound. There it is. There's my chaser coming in. So I'm just going to pull a little quick Picard maneuver and get rid of that guy, and that'll be about 15 seconds or so. All right, so my hostile is almost there.
Not enough time!
And it is... be there any second. All right, we're done. All right, so now what? Just start grinding?
Yeah, grind away. See what happens.
Okay. See what happens. Why does he say see what happens?
I just want to see how squishy you are.
There
you go.
I
Okay,
killed it
you're
just
good.
fine.
So you took a little damage.
So in the 64 system, I am getting some epic. I get some rare. These are very small numbers, though.
You are getting quite a bit of loot. You just saw that that hostile only had 83 epic in there, and you were pulling over 400. So this is good. You are doing a good amount of loot gain. You're getting more than a base amount of a 68.
I am currently holding in my cargo 629,000 common hijacked splicers. That came from, roughly 9 hostiles right there. So I got 600,000. When I get home, which I am now home, I would take those splicers. I would go into my Augment store, and now I can pull the common hijacked exchange. In true Mr. Tiger fashion, he has introduced a very early stretch goal here, but we're going to start with just a single pull, which is going to add to my reputation and get me some common Wrath credits. Jules, is it a safe moment to go ahead and buy this bundle?
Unless you want to grind all night.
All right, so we're going to buy the bundle. There we go with our 400 credits and our extra 13,000 reputation. And we can see here now that I am on my way to Patron. All right. I also now am going to be able to come into the common bundle here where I will now be able to spend my common Wrath credits. We'll talk about the store a little bit more a little bit later. Right now, I still want to get into the high level. How do you do this loop? So I'm gonna turn it back over to Jules, and we'll get into the store in a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to take a side exit there. I am currently holding 1,800 epics, and I need 12,000.
Well, okay, hold on.
Okay.
Because yes, but we are trying to maximize our effort here. There is a hard wall that we're going to run into, which is the cost of the faction bundles. But right now, what you're doing is the best possible move for your account. You are spending, what do you think you'll survive? 15, 20 hostiles in here?
Probably not.
And you're
that
getting
many.
more loot per hostile than if you did a full punch-up crew, no loot officers, on a 68. So this is the best thing for you right now, is to hit these 64s and grind them on these holes. Now, how many holes will you need to go through to get a single pull on the epic? Yeah, that is what the overwhelming community feedback is right now, is that even for single chests, it is grinding. It is what it is. There is no getting around it. Loot crew is definitely the way to go, and trying to maximize your loot. There is a favor for anyone who has not already looked at this. There is a favor in the faction store that at max gives you 100% boost to this loot. That is the Mark of Khan. Increases common, uncommon, rare, and epic hijacked splicers. So at max, it basically adds another 5 of 11. But at this point, you're doing pretty well with loot gain. You're probably getting around 200 and 250% with the other bonuses that you may have. Some other loot gains you could do is there's a Sloan skill for loot gain. There is also a forbidden tech for loot gain. That would be the Agamus. And there's also a chaos tech for loot gain, which would be the Thought Maker.
So we keep grinding here. Now, I mean, I'm looking at 6 or 7 hauls to get enough to do any of these pulls. That can't be right?
That's right.
For now. There is the favor that gives you plus 100%. The Kara Marcus has a huge loot boost against these. Up to 700% at max.
The loot chest of the standard hostiles are not dropping any extra ciphers. They're dropping a different currency, right, Jules?
Yeah.
They're only dropping these champion trophies here, so they're not dropping ciphers.
So yeah, this is the grind, my friend. Welcome to it.
So let's look here. I have now died. I've done 3 runs. Okay. Interestingly, I did the common in the level 40 system. Okay. But the common costs 600,000. So hitting the level 64s, I now only have 29,000 left. Okay. I have not earned nearly enough of the uncommon. However, I did earn enough of the rare to do a single pull. Okay. That's 275,000 rep, which is nice. And I earned enough to do an epic. So this absolutely does support the reports that I have seen today, Jules, that right now we're having to hit multiple levels of hostile, right? I'm going to end up having to hit a 3rd hostile. I'm going to end up having to, because I don't have enough uncommon. All right, I pulled common, and then hitting the 64s, I got enough epic and rare, but I still don't have enough uncommon to do this one. So I'm going to end up having to come down and punch a 3rd hostile. You mentioned that I should be hitting the 66s. The 66s, per the chart, are going to pay me even less uncommon. So that is not an acceptable answer either. Based on this thing, if I hit the 60s, I'm going to get even less uncommon. Oh, no. Well, no, there's not enough there. There's not nearly. Remember, it's 600,000. Oh, and I was looking at uncommon. So the 60s pay more than the 64s when it comes to uncommon loot. So no, hitting a 66 is not going to help me. I am literally going to have to punch down Now, you know, there is one other
2 or
thing
3.
here that I'm just noticing, and I do see this in the chat as well. Look at the cooldowns. I wonder, Jules, if Tiger's design was we hit different hostiles depending on the day.
Yeah,
could
absolutely.
that
Like
could
you
that
just did
be
your epic loot grind today, and you're going to do your uncommon loot grind tomorrow or something?
Yeah. See, I mean, obviously today we're gonna want to get in on that, but I'm gonna be 5 more days before I need any more epic, 3 more days before I need rare. So tomorrow I could work on the 40s and the 50s to do my common and uncommon. Common is every day. What is uncommon? Is it 2 days then? And then rare is 3 days, and then epic is 5 days. I guarantee you guys. Knowing Tiger personally like I do, that's exactly what he probably intended here. I do admit that feels a little weird. Okay? It feels a little bit weird. But we have, as a community, Jules, we've talked about the punch up and punch down advantages. This is not a new concept for Scopely. We've been talking about punching up and punching down, specifically with the Revenant, Griffin, with Borg polygons and Borg solos and things like that. So, Jules, obviously, we're going to be able to speak to Mr. Tiger in just 48 hours, but this feels to me like a thing where level means less than variety does. Go to this hostel for you needing this one. Today is going to be one of the only days, Jules, where you've got to grind all 4. Am I reading this right?
Yeah, I mean, particularly it's going to feel grindy up front because we're still figuring out the loot too.
Well, you got to load the shotgun up. My question is, where's the loot efficiency? It's here somewhere. Where is it?
There's a
And
favor.
How do we get it?
There's a favor. We just talked about that. It's called
There you go.
Mark of Khan. There is now it's not huge. It's only 100% at max, and it's going to cost us several thousand credits. It's not real huge, but I think that might be where we are looking at potentially using a as Jules mentioned, depending on what day it is for you, on which one of these you're having to hit, you're absolutely going to use a loot crew for your common and uncommon days, and then maybe a little bit more aggressively for rare and the epics. But again, with these staggered cooldowns, you're not having to do all of these every single day. I doubt we're going to see any days where you got to do all 4, unless you have fallen behind. Riskbreaker says there is a simple fix, put the previous loot grade in the chest pull. Now, again, I don't 1,000% disagree. Honestly, I really don't, okay? I want to talk to Tiger about this mindset. Thinking outside the box, I feel like the fact that these hostels have level numbers on them are simply a requirement of the game and should have no bearing on how we approach this loop. I know that sounds crazy, but if all of these systems could have no hostile level numbers on them, you were just hitting uncommon hostels, rare
The
hostels.
generation.
Yeah. G6 should not be fussy about hitting G4 because these systems should have been labeled common, uncommon, rare, epic.
Ember Latera has a great point. By that logic, G4 should be able to hit the epics. And while you still see the epic actual bundle there, you can't get epics from ships that you can even reach, except for in very small quantities from the loot goblin.
Are G4s intended on doing the epic pull? It would stand to reason that the increased rarity would correlate with generation. So thank you guys for the questions. Thank you, Tarpy, for collating them. And of course, thank you, Jules, for engineering this whole thing. This is why we've got 500 people in our audience right now. You guys are all amazing. What an amazing team you guys have here on Arcfall Day. Thank you guys all. I don't do anything. I show up.